hello to you churches that are meeting in homes throughout West Michigan. I wanted to give you a little bit of, I don't know, guidance and encouragement today as you continue to have to navigate these uncertain times of COVID. I know some of you have differing opinions and comfort levels and perspectives on COVID, and that's providing some challenges in your churches. But I want to let you know I've been really encouraged to hear all the stories and testimonies on how you guys have navigated those waters together, how you have had honest conversations, how you've kind of bent towards each other and laid your preferences down for each other and found creative ways to continue to gather together. I've been thinking a lot about some scripture in terms of how do we navigate what it means to meet together and the importance of meeting together. You know, in Hebrews 10:25 it says, "Do not neglect meeting together, but encourage one another," and it goes on from there. And I thought that was interesting of like the importance of meeting together. Now, I don't think that means you need to meet together with the entire church or all of Moran Park. I don't think that means you need to get together with, dozens and dozens or hundreds and hundreds of people, but just with other believers. And so how do we navigate that during COVID and different comfort levels and risks and all those types of things? Because in Hebrews 10:25 it connects the encouraging one another to the meeting together. And right, that's the case during this time when things are difficult, it's hard, there's isolation. There's something about actually meeting together that brings encouragement. It's the meeting together that you can share things with each other, that you can encourage one another, that you can build each other up. And now, I think there are some different ways that you consider meeting together. But if at all possible, I think the thing that I encourage you to is to find a way to meet in person. I know some of you just aren't comfortable with that, but I just think, are there creative ways that you could do that? Because there's something about physically being in the same place that there's a deep connection there. There's something about being able to read body language and talk face to face that you kind of miss over Zoom. Now, I'll get to Zoom in a minute. I think Zoom is a fine choice if that's where you end up. I'm not slamming Zoom, but I just think, are there other creative ways to think about? Can you meet spreading out more? Have you talked about masks in your house church if that's something that's more comfortable? One option for you, you might not know this. I know some churches are starting to meet and use the building here at Moran Park because it provides bigger space where they can then spread out because people's houses aren't big enough for spreading out where people are comfortable. So if that's what you want, just let me know. We can find that time and space for you in the building to then spread out where you're more comfortable. That is totally available for you. Um, for some, it may be Zoom is the best thing after you kind of exhaust all your options. I think you miss a lot on Zoom. I think it makes it more challenging, of course, but I'm not trying to slam you if that's what you choose. I just think, is there ways to get creative with meeting together? In First Corinthians chapter 10, no, 11. First Corinthians chapter 11, right? That section talks about communion. It says, when you gather together as the church, right? In First Corinthians 14, it talks about it, right, when you gather together and these gifts are used. That's the thing about being the church together. There's gathering, there's mutual edifications building up. And yes, you can do that electronically, and yes, you can do that virtually, but there's something about doing face to face. If you need help brainstorming, talk to your house church planner, talk to me. Happy to brainstorm and consider some other ideas. Um, and I know for a lot of you, this is like a week by week conversation, depending on what comfort level and depending on where things are at in our community with COVID. Don't be afraid to keep having the conversations. But one of the things I'm going to keep inviting you into is sharing with your house church where you're at, being honest with them. Don't assume things about the others. Don't assume that they know where you're at. Don't be afraid to keep bringing those things up and finding ways to lay your life down for each other, finding ways to accommodate one another in this. So if we can be any help, let me know.